Let me guess, you're dreaming of owning your first home in Canada, but with the high prices in the housing market now, it feels impossible, right? What if I told you there's a brand new tool designed to make that dream a reality? I really wish we used it when we were saving up for our first home in Canada, but it was not available at the time. So I'll just go ahead and introduce this to you. Introducing the First Home Savings Account, also called FHSA, all right? This is the latest addition to the Canada's suite of registered investment accounts. I'm sure you've heard of the TFSAs and the RRSPs, right? Perfect. The FHSA combines the best of both worlds, offering like unique benefits to first-time home buyers. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know everything that there is to know about the First Home Savings Account and how it can help you save smarter and faster for your new home here in Canada. The FHSA was first introduced by the Canadian government last year, and it came into effect in April of the same year. Now, the main purpose for this account is to help you save money for your first home. Even though the FHSA has a savings in the title and you could use it to save, it is actually a registered investment account. Typically, when you invest money, you must pay taxes on all the money that you gained. But there are a few registered investment accounts that exist that give you tax benefits or refunds. The classic one is the tax-free account, like the TFSA in Canada. When you invest in this account, your money grows tax-free. So when you take money out of it, you don't have to pay taxes on that money. There are also tax-deferred accounts like the RRSP. When you invest in the RRSP account, you do pay taxes on the money you earn in the future, but you're able to lower the amount you pay in taxes each year that you add money into that account. So the TFSA means less taxes in the future. The RRSP means less taxes now. Because these are such great perks, there's a limit to how much you can contribute to both accounts. The FHSA is the newest account with tax benefits, and it kind of combines the perk from the TFSA and the RRSP, right? So the money that you contribute to these accounts can be used to reduce your taxable income, just like the RRSP. And your money also would grow tax-free, just like the TFSA. You see what I mean by that? It combines the best specs of those other two accounts. But the catch here is that when you go to take money out of the account, you have to use the money to buy a home, right? To take advantage of that peg. Let me break it down a little bit for you. Picture the FHSA as an empty box. When you add money into the account, it brings down your current taxable income. For instance, if you had like a yearly salary of $55,000 and out of that amount, you contributed $5,000 to your FHSA account for the year, that would bring down your taxable income from 55,000 Canadian dollars to 50,000 Canadian dollars. So basically, you'll be paying less money in taxes for that year that you contributed into the FHSA. Now, let's jump into the future. Let's say that it's 5 years from now and you are looking to buy your first home, all right? Let's also say that you have saved up $30,000 in that account after the 5 years, and you go ahead and pull out that money out of the account and use it for a down payment, right? When you do take out that $30,000 out of the account, you will not have to pay taxes on that money, since the money was used toward purchasing your first home, which means that we're able to save money on taxes for those 5 years. You know how I said it's only tax-free if you take the money out to buy your first home, right? Well, if you take the money out that you have contributed for those 5 years, but you don't use it to buy a house, then you would have to pay taxes on the money that you earn, okay? I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. So the benefits here truly are the ability to bring down your taxable income in the year that you contributed money into that account. And of course, you don't have to pay taxes on the money you use towards buying your first home if you actually did use that money to buy your first home. Now, let's talk about who can open an FHSA account. So you must be a Canadian resident, you must be between the ages of 18 to 71, and you must be like a first-time home buyer. And based on the criteria, it means that you can't have owned a home over the past 4 years. This is kind of interesting because it is literally called the First Home Savings Account. But really, what they're saying here is that it's your first home or the first home that you purchased in the last 4 years. And to do that calculation, it specifically means that you wouldn't have lived in a home that you own the year that you opened your FHSA, or 4 years prior to that owning that home. Now let's get back to the age range for a second, because there's a little star right next to that age range. You can only have the FHSA open for up to 15 years. Meaning that, let's say you are 27 years old, for example, you have up until 42 years old to use that money that is in the account to buy a qualifying home. So the FHSA can remain open for up to 15 years, or until the end of the year that you turn 71, whichever comes first. If you either don't use the money within your FHSA to buy a home within the 15 years, or by the time you turn 71, then you have a few options. Like I said before, you wouldn't be able to take the money out and not pay taxes on it. But if you don't want to pay taxes on it after that 15 years, a better option would be for you to transfer the money into your RRSP or your RRIM, which is the Registered Retirement Income Fund. So when you do that, it would be there on a tax deferred basis. Again, this would continue to reduce your taxable income while it is there, because you're adding money into the RRSP account, which is the benefit of that account. Okay, so the good news here is that if you didn't use the money to buy a home, you wouldn't lose that money, but you wouldn't be taking advantage of the most benefits. Now, beyond that, there are a few more rules that you need to know. One of those rules is that, just like the TFSA and RRSP, the FHSA has a contribution limit. That means that there is a maximum amount of money that you can put into this account. That kind of limits the benefits to a certain threshold. Now, the lifetime contribution limit for this account is $40,000 Canadian dollars. So that means that the maximum amount of money that you can put into the account is 40,000 Canadian dollars. But your money could grow on top of these amounts, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, okay? But that's the maximum amount that you can put in yourself into the account. Apparently, the government landed on 40,000 Canadian dollars as the magic number, because it's supposed to represent like about 5% to 6% of the average home price in Canada. And the lowest down payment that you can make on a home that's under $1 million is 5%. So in theory, you're able to use the account to save for your down payments. That's basically what the account was made for. So according to their research, the average home price in Canada is about $736,000. Now, let's say 5.5% of that is about $40,480. If you live in a higher cost living area, then you know that house prices can get a lot higher than that, but more on that in a second, okay? So the total lifetime limit is $40,000, but there are also rules on how much you can contribute per year, right? So on a yearly basis, you can fund the account with up to 8,000 Canadian dollars, and any unused portions of that limit will be carried forward to a maximum of $8,000 to use in the following year. Now, here is two different examples on how that could look, right? Let's say that I opened FHSA in 2023 and I contributed the full 8,000 Canadian dollars in there. Then I do that again in 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027, right? At the end of that 5th year, I would have contributed 8,000 per year, and I would have reached my total maximum limit of 40,000 Canadian dollars. At that time, I could withdraw my money to buy my first home, or I could let my money just sit there for up to 10 years. So let's say up to 2037 before buying the home, to take advantage of the growth my money could see over that period, okay, of time. That is totally your choice. Now, the problem with letting your money grow and sitting in that account is that home prices grow quickly in Canada. So your money could be just growing, but at a slower pace than the home prices are going up, and you can end up just losing out when it comes to buying a home. So that is something that you also need to consider if you want to leave it there to just grow. All right, okay, let's go to example 2. Let's say in 2023 you opened an FHSA, but you only contributed 3,000 Canadian dollars in there. Then in 2024 you contributed 13,000 Canadian dollars. That is the new full 8,000 Canadian dollars yearly limit, all right, that you get, plus the 5,000 that you didn't use the year before that. Now in 2024, let's say you didn't contribute any money at all, and then in 2026 you contribute $16,000. Again, that is the new 8,000 yearly limit that you get for 2026, plus the entire 8,000 Canadian dollars that you get for the previous year that you didn't contribute. I just hope that makes sense. Let's say you didn't invest any money in 2024, 2025, or in 2026. What happens then? Well, in that case, it means that in 2027, you could still only invest a maximum of 16,000, which would be that year's 8,000 limit and an 8,000 from the year before, but you won't be able to invest 24,000 even though you skipped 2 years. Let's talk about withdrawing money from your first home savings account. Now, let's say you opened an account and you contributed money in there, and now you want to take it out and buy your first home. Like I said earlier, it must be for either your first home or for your first home in 4 years. Also meaning that it must be your primary residence, meaning if you're buying it in your next 4 years, you'll need to move to that house. It will be your primary residence. That means that you can't use your FHSA amount money contribution to buy an investment property, like a place you want to rent out or sell. It must be for a home that you plan on living in, and you must also move into that home within 1 year of the purchase date. The reason behind this is because this account was actually intended to help Canadians be able to afford homes that they otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. It's not to help people make money by maybe investing in homes. So I hope that makes sense. When you're going to withdraw the money from your FHSA, there are a few steps that you would have to take. First, you would have to fill out a form called the RC275, where you will request to make a qualifying withdrawal from your FHSA. And once you have done that, you'll have to give that to your bank or your financial institution that you have the FHSA at. You also have to prove that you've written an agreement to buy or build the home within the 1 year of the withdrawal date of that amount. And you can't have acquired that home already more than 30 days before taking the money out. So basically, what you would do is go get your written agreement, take the money out within 30 days, and then ensure that you move in into your house within 1 year. I just hope it makes sense. Finally, after using your FHSA, you have to close the account down on or before December 31st of that year, following you taking the money out of the account. And you also can't open an FHSA account in the future if you have already used one to successfully buy a home. Another interesting aspect is that you can have multiple FHSA accounts opened at the same time. Let me explain that a little bit more. You know how I mentioned earlier that your money could grow on top of the maxed out 40,000 after you've contributed the 40,000 Canadian dollars that you added in there yourself, right? That's because you can actually, and ideally you'll be able to use your FHSA to invest. Okay, this is one of the benefits of an account like this. You can actually invest your money, have it grow, and then all of the additional extra money that you have from just investing it instead of just letting it sit there is now brand new tax-free. So whatever additional money you get from saving it is tax-free. That is just one very good perk about this account. Think of your FHSA as a basket. The account itself just sits there, okay? And if you put money in the basket, the money just also sits there too. But you can use your money to buy investments, all right? And then put those investments in the basket, and that will grow. When you do this, your money is growing and is still being protected by the basket itself. Something that I want to mention here is that for your other registered accounts like the TFSA and the RRSP, I would recommend using those for your long-term investment, like for your retirement, okay, for the RRSP, because you have decades to keep your money invested. It also means that you also have the time to ride the ups and downs of the markets when you're investing, okay? So ideally, you're going to get that strong average annual return over a long period of time. With your FHSA, you only are for sure using that money within 15 years and potentially even within 5 years. So it's a much shorter time frame, and because of that, you don't want to be too risky with your money, with trying to buy investments and all that, because you don't really want to be like in a position where you are ready to buy a house and the money that you've been saving up has gone down instead of up. You place it on safe investment that you're sure will give you returns over the period and wouldn't be affected with the fluctuations in the market. But it's also important that you take advantage of investing and growing your money in whatever account that you have it in. So what are your options? There are a few different things that you can do, and I'm going to go over this in more detail in a future video. But at a high level, you could invest in passive index funds for those FHSA or ETFs that are well diversified specifically, all right? And you could even look at investment options like GICs that have a locked-in return, meaning the interest you're getting from those investments are locked in. It is not moved by the fluctuations in the market, okay? With an investment option like this, you might not be getting as much money as you want to or as you could with other investment options, but you are also guaranteed not to lose money over a specific period of time. So with all of this, because you're investing your money, you could, in theory, open 2 different FHSA. Let's say, for example, you do that and you use one for GICs and you use the other for ETFs. Okay, so that's you will get from both sides. So if you do that, make sure that if you contribute, let's say $25,000 to one, you don't contribute more than $15,000 to the other. I'm talking about the total amount now, okay? Also, monthly, you have to divide it. It cannot go beyond 8,000 Canadian dollars. So just to make sure that you are not crossing the overall lifetime limit of 40,000. Also keep in mind the yearly limit, which I mentioned before. Let's say in 1 year, you're supposed to contribute 8,000. Make sure that within the 2 accounts, you don't contribute more than the 8,000 spread between the 2 accounts, okay? Let's talk about whether using this account is worth it at all. Want to make sure, is it worth it? Well, it's not surprising that the account doesn't completely solve all the housing problems that we have here in Canada. I know some people might not really appreciate this housing savings solution because they don't know how much they can save. It's pretty difficult to understand how much you can save for the period. So let's talk a little bit more about the solution itself. And kind of like what I was talking about earlier, the maximum amount that you can save within the account just barely covers the minimum down payment across many different housing markets in Canada. And it wouldn't cover at all really the minimum down payment for a house in a province like Toronto and Vancouver. We agree that more needs to be done when it comes to housing supply and affordable housing options here in Canada. We agree that the government needs to do more. One thing that I'll also say though is that having another tax advantage account is something that you might want to take advantage of. There's also a whole comparison that could be done between the FHSA and the RRSP, which is the first time home buyers plan. And if you don't know what that is, basically you can't take money out of your RRSP tax-free to be used for the purchase of your home. That's the difference between the 2 accounts. Basically, the way it works is that you can take out money up to $35,000 tax-free. The only thing there is that you just would need to recontribute that $35,000 into your RRSP within a period of 15 years. The actual purpose for the RRSP is intended for retirement, not for buying your first home. Also, we'd like to mention that you can use both accounts at the same time. What that basically means is that you can use your RRSP plus your FHSA. For example, the $35,000 maximum limit on your RRSP plus the 40,000 Canadian dollars maximum limit for your FHSA, which totals 75,000 Canadian dollars. Okay, all can be used towards the purchase of your first home. Will a lot of people be able to use this, save up that amount of money? I don't know. I don't really know about that, but it's something that you can take advantage of. All right. The last thing that you should know is that your money is protected within an account like the FHSA. So if you found this video enlightening, please click on the subscribe button, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comment section. I'd like to hear from you. Let's have some money conversation, and just ask all your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, if you enjoyed this topic, I know you would like these ones that I'm going to be putting up here. I'm going to be linking them somewhere here. Please go check them out. Ask your questions in the comments. You'll be happy you did. As always, thanks so much for watching, and see you all in my next video. Bye.